Whether you are watching live or archived, we need your help to keep fun going. You can subscribe to First Updates now on Twitch, give bits, or make a donation. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description on how you can help fun.
So I think we're going to move on and talk about some awesome additions that you can make to your kits. So I'm just kind of going to run down this list right here, if we can throw some of these up on the screen. So one great addition that you can have to your kit is AndyMark compliant wheels. I mean, they're very purpose-built, so they were great this year when we were collecting blocks. They're great. They're used a lot in FRC for collecting major things. So if there's anything big that you're collecting, I'd say probably over 3 inches or 4 inches, then compliant wheels are the way to go. They also offer 2-inch compliant wheels, which are just the same thing but really small, and you can get them in various degrees of squishiness. Another great product that I love, which is also kind of purpose-built, are AndyMark stealth wheels. So they have 2 main functions, in my opinion. One is they can be used for flywheel shooters. So my team used them back in Velocity Vortex to shoot the wiffle balls. They can also be used on drivetrains. My team has been using them, in our swerve drivetrain. I know others have used them for swerve. They're also used in the tile runner kits. And stealth wheels could just be a great wheel overall.
And they're cheap. They're $6 a piece.
Yeah,
they're
very
awesome. Cheap. I really love stealth wheels. I've used them, I think, at least 2 of the years I've been in FTC.
One of the things to watch with stealth wheels is, from just personal experience, I know that some of the variants can build up a lot of static on the tile surface. So you just want to be aware of that. There's a lot of other wheels that are very comparable to the stealth wheels, like the Acrobatics ones that we've sort of switched over to. But that's just one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. Another great addition to any kit are AndyMark nubs. So these come in 6mm D shaft, 6mm round, 5mm hex shaft variants, and also all different sizes. So some have what you can see right now on the screen is called a boss. That's the part that sticks out. So you can get them with single boss, double boss, so that there's a outer part on both sides. I think no boss. You can also get like a bearing nub. So there's a lot of different combinations that you can get, and they blend with every system because most systems either use some sort of D shaft or if you're Rev, you use 5mm hex. So we talked about this a little bit earlier, but another great thing that you can get kit-wise is the Rev Linear Slide Kit. You can't get the kit right now, I'm pretty sure. As Greg said, that kit part 2 will be in stock starting Friday. So the linear motion kit is always great. It's pretty cheap as well. I mean, it's just the kit, so then you need to get the extrusion, but it's pretty great to have. Yes, we're going to get to Vex Pro in a second, Zanford. Another great thing you can get are Rev ball bearings. I think we talked about those earlier, though. Those go well with the linear motion kit. Heading back to AndyMark, there's some gearboxes that you can get. So AndyMark makes sport gearboxes, which I personally love. There's a lot of people that have mixed opinions on that, but I think these sport gearboxes are great. They're pretty expensive, though. But they are very easy to mount to things, especially if you're doing custom like my team did, and they're very easy to use. I don't know if anyone wants to share their quick opinion on that.
I'm not sure if they're meant to be used with Tetrix, but we found that the holes on the gearboxes line up perfectly with Tetrix channel.
Oh,
yeah.
They're also very efficient. Just in general, the gearbox design is very efficient, so you're going to get a lot of speed and power instead of losing out on some friction.
And something cool with them is that they have a nub attached. So what we found is sometimes you can, if you want to put a 6mm D shaft in, I think it also might work with 5mm hex, where you can just put the set screw right down on top of it. It's got a nub built in. You can also mount a wheel or something directly to it because there are screw-ins on the rotating part of the motor. Jumping over to Vex for a second. Vex has 2 great gearboxes that can be used for FTC. One is their Versa Planetary gearbox, mainly used in FRC, but it can also be used on Never Rest motors. The gearbox is great. It's metal, so it's super sturdy. It won't, from what I've heard, it won't break. Yeah, it's great. Then they make what's called the Planetary Light, which is the plastic version of that same gearbox. So it's got a lower profile. It weighs less, which is nice for FTC. And I haven't really talked to anyone who's used that, but I'm guessing it works very much the same as Planetary.
Yeah, they're both really great options, and I know a lot of teams at Worlds use them because of their hex output. And you can just, with these, it's very easy to mount compared to other gearboxes.
Mm-hmm.
They're primarily FRC gearboxes, so there's no way you're ever going to break them. And you can swap the stages. So if you say, okay, I'm going to start with 26:1 on my drivetrain, you can take the gearbox apart and go to a faster or a slower gear ratio basically whenever you want, which is a huge advantage to the VP system.
Yep. Another great thing you can have, we talked about earlier, Rev Smart servos. They work great with every system. I think they're the best servo on the market for FTC because they're programmable, because they're super strong. You can kind of beat them up as much as possible. So they're great. Lastly, I love these. They're the Nexus Mechanism wheels. If we can throw a pic of those up, that would be great.
I will throw up the picture if you pronounce it correctly.
Nexus Mechanism wheels. They're
Try again.
Mechanism.
When I was writing it, I knew that I needed to say Mechanism, but it's just so automatic. These Mechanism wheels are really great. They're really smooth. They work well. You can buy them. I think. What? We
use them, and
yeah,
we've tried out so many different types of Mechanism wheels, and these are by far the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're the best Mechanism wheels on the market. Someone from the chat was asking us, AMOTS 10030, do you guys have any experience with keyways? Do they mean keyed shafts?
I believe so. Keyway shafts. I know Recharge Screen used them early last year on their flywheel out of the Banebots gearboxes. Josh, did you use?
Yeah, we have a. Yeah, we do. We have a Banebots drivetrain. So and those all are keyed shafts, and they're really easy to use. There's no problems with them.
Yeah. So I think we're going to move on to our last, I don't think you can call it a build system, but our last way of building robots, which would be custom robots. So I guess maybe I'll interview myself. So I'd say what's unique about this route? So I think what's unique about this route, and there's a whole picture album that we'll throw up, a lot of it's from my team, a lot of it's from others, is you can do whatever you want with custom. There's infinite amounts of creativity that you can have because you can blend custom with any build system around. You can do whatever you want. There's a few ways to do custom, as you can see right now on the screen. This is all plastic. We used HDPE and polycarbonate. You can also use PETG.
You can do custom metal if you wanted.
You can do metal. Yeah, that's what I was going to get to next.
But you just have to have the resources to be able to cut it up and all that.
Yeah, that's the thing about custom. You do have to have like a decent amount of tools and stuff that you can CNC 3D printer that can make custom parts.
Or
sponsors.
And you have to have teams that are able to, you have to have team members that are able to actually build custom bots. It can be hard to learn how to 3D print or CAD or CNC. So you just have to learn it. And then the biggest thing is resources. So that's where it can be hard for young teams, rookie teams, even veteran teams, because it's so unpredictable. It's not unpredictable. It's so hard to actually get that like consistency. Because if you're going to do custom, you really have to do custom. I don't really think that there's a way you can kind of, it's hard to like half do custom and like do part of your robot and then kind of quit on it during the season. You have to be dedicated if you're going to do it.
So I know with custom, we've sort of gone that route and we're moving more towards it, but a lot of custom robots, they still use the Actobotics motion because that Actobotics motion is really great. Or they still use the Rev Linear Slide Kit because it's very hard to make your own custom linear slides. So a lot of the custom robots are not just custom. They're a blend of everything, and I think that's what makes them very successful.
So this is the Tetrix custom bot. I have now forgotten the team, but this was, Tetrix channel, as you can see, with wood plates, wood dump plate, and the Nexus mechanism wheels that we were talking about earlier, along with compliant wheels. So you can see a lot of what we've talked about so far in the show going on right here with this bot. That's the biggest thing, blending. My favorite part about custom is it allows you to use whatever you want. No longer is my team has now chosen the custom route, and no longer are we just going and buying kits. We're now buying specific parts and specific things that we want to aid in our custom. So,
if you're interested in building a custom robot, I highly recommend talking to one of the teams that already is or is on that route, because it can be very daunting at first, but once you start to get it and grasp how it works, it'll be a lot easier for you.
Yep.
Nathan, I don't know what your experience with this was, but did you seem custom was just a little more fun to build with instead of doing with just like Acrobatics or Rev or something? Was it more fun than?
I thought it was really fun. Tyler, can you pull up one of the technical drawings that I have there? Any of them? So I thought it was really fun because we were kind of able to do whatever we want, and we had so many different iterations. So as you're looking right here at this was one of our side plates. This was probably the fifth or sixth version of this side plate. Originally, it was just like a rectangle, and then we ended up just messing around with it and continually like turning it into what almost became like an automotive like car kind of like design for a robot. So I really had fun with it. And at the same time, it allowed us to kind of do whatever we want. There was that kind of infinite creativity, as I keep talking about. And as someone mentioned, and using kits doesn't necessarily not mean not using custom. I think I put a picture in the folder from a Velocity Vortex bot last year. I don't know if you can easily find that, Tyler. It's next to the claw right there. So as you can see right there, that's our robot with the blue cat ball. I couldn't find a better picture of our robot from last year, but that was a tile runner drivetrain with 1 inch with 80/20 linear slide lift, along with custom sort of. The forks on the edge of that forklift were 3D printed. That whole assembly on the front that you can kind of see in red/orange was all 3D printed. You can't really see it here, but the motor mounts for our shooter wheels were 3D printed. So there's a lot that you can do with custom. It's not just limited to going full custom like my team this year. You can also 3D print parts and kind of just do whatever, like fill the gap wherever there is a gap with custom parts.
I'd just like to take 1 second and say 3D printing is one of the most valuable tools any FTC team can have. And I think it really changed the way that our team saw designing and building our robot. And I, like, not as a rookie team, but as a second or third year team, if you've gotten it down to building with the systems, I think that 3D printing is the next step in transitioning between custom and or transitioning between using kits and going towards custom. And it's really helped us be able to bridge the gap between different systems.
Yeah.
I know we also did a lot with custom wood this year. We went as far, I built a robot in 3 days out of wood primarily. And it worked okay. We used 1/4-inch Baltic birch plywood and just basically cut it with table saw and scroll saw and used a drill press a lot. And that can be good, but I built a drivetrain out of it, and all the little places where I was a 1/16 of an inch off added up, and it ended up breaking a lot. So there are ups and downs. I wouldn't recommend using it on a drivetrain, but there are definitely places where wood is really awesome on robots too.
Yep. So we have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Oh, you can go. And then
No, I was going to point that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So our first question from Reno C is opinions on polycarb drivetrains. I would never.
Can you remind me, is polycarb Lexan?
Polycarb is clear plastics. I think I would never do that. I would never build a fully polycarb drivetrain.
I think Redneck used Lexan as the outside of their drivetrain, as the outside plate, not the inside plate. I can't say that for 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was polycarb on the outside. I think polycarb is great for internal things, but it can be kind of weak. So I tend to stay away from it.
We only used it this year for non-structural, like more so aesthetics / allowing the drivers to actually see through the robot.
Hi, I'm Ishan
Our
from
last
FTC
question,
Live, and today I'm
I think
going to
was
be
also
interviewing...
from Lino C, is what material do you use to 3D print ABS, PLA?
We use ABS this past year,
Yeah.
but we're switching away from ABS and we're moving towards PTG and PLA due to the toxicity of ABS. I mean, we were breathing those fumes for multiple hours, and it's probably not the healthiest thing. But I will say our experience with using ABS to print parts was very, very nice. We were able to build very, very strong parts that were very reliable.
Mm-hmm. And I lost my train of thought for a sec. Sorry, guys. For 3D printing, my team uses PLA, and then we also use Ninja Flex. Ninja Flex can be great if you want to print anything flexible. There's a little bit of a learning curve for it, so find a YouTube video on it. But
or just contact us, like any of us that have.
Me,
yeah. We actually made our intake for Relic Recovery using Ninja Flex, and that was one of the best decisions we ever made because we were able to get a certain compliance that you can't get with the compliant wheels that are built into that are made by AndyMark.
Yeah, we started our season with a flipper intake that we actually used on our bot last year. As our intake, that was all made out of Ninja Flex. Wasn't effective though.